couple of people asked, maybe I'll just touch on it since we're talking about it. People talking about Nashville, LA, difference between Nashville and LA sessions, the turning around demos and things like that. And I've been here a few times and done some sessions here before, but the psychological and scheduling structure of Nashville is very different than LA. People who are here obviously know this, but people who don't, it's very much sort of a 9 to 5, or maybe more like 11 to 5. You write a song, you show up, you write a song, you get a demo, you send it off. Not many things are terribly heavily produced, since a lot of the big country artists have producers attached to their projects. So if you're just writing songs, it doesn't make sense to spend all the time on a production. Whereas in LA or elsewhere, oftentimes writing with the artist, or even writing for pitch, you're actually doing pretty much a full production, so somebody can just slot their vocals in. Like I think it is the case in Nashville for a lot of the big artists. Even if I did a full production, their producer might even just copy my production, and that's a whole nother thing that I think people, now that there's lots more laptop producers, I being one of them, so I'm literally here on a laptop making records. I sent off a mix yesterday, like I'm fully doing stuff on the laptop. I think it's something that Nashville is adjusting to a little bit, figuring out what that looks like, because at a certain point, if people are delivering demos that sound like full productions and then someone else is just copying all their programming, it gets a little iffy about who's doing what, but I think they're kind of grappling with that. But the expectation here is very much like 3 people get in a room, you write a song, you split it 3 ways, you get a demo at the end of the day, whatever it is, full song, then it gets sent out and pitched, and you just kind of do that routine, which is obviously very different than LA. I mean, there's sessions I'll do in LA where it's like, let's just throw together a bunch of ideas, because we might pitch it to an artist that then wants to finish it. They jump in. I guess there's some of that in Nashville, but not nearly as much traditionally. So I've had to adjust a little bit of like, what's the expectation? I'm talking to my manager and publisher, like, what's the expectation? Make sure I'm doing this right. I mean, that, as we talk about with, whether you're from a songwriter to a mastering engineer or anywhere in between, understanding what the expectations of a project are, or what you're there to do, what people are expecting to get out of the day or out of the process, is really, really important. Obviously, we talk about it a lot, but it's something that even as a writer, which is mostly what I'm doing these couple of weeks, although I'm finishing productions outside of it because I'm working on other projects, always understanding what the expectations are is really important. It definitely is different in Nashville.
There's definitely a separation from my experience many years ago when I was writing, and also went to Nashville to do writing sessions. I guess things, basically what I'm getting from you is things really haven't changed, because historically it's just kind of how it's been. And there's a very clean line, I think as a positive, between people that write songs and people that produce songs. And in LA, that line has been blurred. A snare drum could,
just publishing,
writing.
Right? I've gotten publishing on some hip hop stuff where I'm just like, I pretty much just edited vocals and added some drums, and they're like, cool, yeah, and you get 5%. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'll take it. But
I mean, it's a part of any trade of currency and copyright. Like, if there's no budget to pay you, then you're going to be offered this. I guess
that everything is negotiable.
Yes.
Potentially.
And I really like the clean lines. I like blurred lines too, obviously. But it's nice to know that when you're in a session there is an expectation of what's about to happen, and you go in knowing that, and then you can execute your position at the highest level of that. So now that can probably, for you, someone that has credits as a producer and as a writer, transfer over to maybe a producer there that's working on whoever it is. Say it's Casey Musgraves or something, and she obviously has people, whether it be Ian Fitzchuck or Sean Everett, who like work on all the music, and they're both super talented and whatever. Maybe they love your vibe so much that they ask to have you come in now and help on the production of the song. That is then a bonus, right? On top of the fact that you are now a songwriter on a Casey Musgraves record, right? Like, there's levels to this, and people are happy to attain whatever they're lucky to be captured for, whether it's songwriting or producing. Nashville seems a harder world to break into as a producer, and everyone's looking for some fresh perspective on songwriting down there, because there's a way it's been done down there for so long. I think now that they are looking for, and you can speak to this probably better than I with your conversations with your publishers, but they seem to also want to have artists cross over. So they're going to be more open to a little bit left of center, writing from LA songwriters, from London songwriters, New York, all, like a little bit more out of the box from Nashville, but then maybe sprinkling in just a Nashville production on top of it. So it brings it home for the demographic that they know all so well. You know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel too much down there, production sound wise.
It's a funny dance because it's both things, is what you're saying, which is on the one hand, and especially as royalty revenue streams change, people are very protective of, we don't want to just give away the master side. If I produce this artist, I'm not going to just bring in some dude from LA who's going to come in and take half of my royalty to co-produce. There's no if I don't have to do that, why would I do that? I don't need some dude from LA or New York or wherever coming in. I know how to write country songs. Why would I bring, if I'm going to work with these people, I want to write pop songs or crossover songs or something like that. I'm trying to be very mindful of that. And at the same time, there are people who, you know, we really want new ideas. We want to write to tracks. There's nobody who can make trap beats in the way that we like, or there's fewer of them in our circles, whether that's Nashville or just these people's circles. And so I've done a few sessions here where I'm like, we can do whatever. I've got tracks. I've got whatever. We can cook from scratch. We can play guitar, play piano. And a couple of the sessions I've played some tracks and they're like, we're writing to that. And if ultimately that means the song gets cut in a just purely country production, that's fine too. But I think, you know, part of, at least for me as a creative person, and you know, we just put up a clip on from the roundtable discussion about it. What I really like is doing lots of different things and being able to adapt in a room. I was telling somebody recently, I was talking to my management team here, that one of the things that I provided to pop songwriters back in the sort of early aughts, when everything was very all of a sudden everything became dance and track oriented, that like Katy Perry, Teenage Dream era, a lot of 128 BPM, a lot of tracks, that all these pop songwriters were going into sessions and producers just played tracks, and they never really had that before, and they were all sick of it. But you come into my studio and I got a 1902 piano and a bunch of guitars. I'm like, we can do whatever. And they always wanted to write on piano. That's how In the Name of Love was written, just like guitar, keyboards, whatever, not playing tracks. So I'm always really mindful that I really enjoy, again, what about the process do you enjoy? I enjoy going into a place and people going, what do you do? And I go, what can I provide for you? I can play you tracks and do whatever. And then they get to choose what feels interesting to them. So in some of these sessions, I got a session in an hour, and it's with an artist and a writer. And I don't know if we're going to be on acoustic guitar, I'm going to play him tracks or whatever. Nashville's really interesting in that there's a way that things are done. And in Nashville, it's certainly, you know, there's a long tradition of the way things are done, and I'm super mindful of it. And yet people are excited to do things slightly differently. So it is this dance of like, you know, what do we want to do today? How does it feel? What can I provide? I'm not going to come in and be like, hey guys, I got a song about a truck. Like, I'm not that asshole. Like, I'm not going to come. It's just idiotic. That's not what I'm here to do. But so figuring out that dance is, I think, really important.
It also seems like something you want to always do differently. Like keep yourself on your toes, and you're the proponent of the get out of the comfort zone, while I'm the proponent of I like flowing in the comfort zone to a degree. Yeah. But I also there's a level of musicianship that Nashville seems to breed, and you could probably argue there's in Memphis, just like Southern rootsy.
Nashville's crazy.
You know,
musicianship is crazy here.
Musicianship, right? So there's that level of like, well, if you're in a writing session, maybe you're not the best in the room.
I'm definitely not the best in the room most of the time. Somebody comes in writing melodies and top line, and they can clearly play guitar better. It's really interesting.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like, then that's again, it's another way to just kind of relieve the position of like, this is for someone else to do. Let me do what I do best. You know, I'm like on a side note, I'm mixing this French artist right now. And the production is so like indie French. I don't know if like people are familiar with that sound, but to me, it's a very homey feeling. Like I really like indie tight drum French thing. I don't know what they're saying. But then there's this Nashville bus that just has banjo and mandolins and pedal steels and lap steels. And they went to, and it says Nashville on the thing. Like they even told me in the email, hey, we'll send you the session as soon as we get back the parts from Nashville. You know, so it's in this ingrained feeling of musicianship and musicality down there that you could then cross-pollinate, right? So they're doing it in Paris. We're doing it in LA. Every now and then you'll just hear a pedal steel. Besides an acquaintance of mine, Rich Hinman, who is a fantastic guitar player and lap steel player that I've recorded up here. Like, I don't know anybody that does lap steel in LA. He's kind of the guy. He's unreal. And there's something about that. They're like, well, why are we trying to reinvent this thing? So bring someone like Matt, or, you know, someone like one of my best friends, Tyler Johnson, who now lives in Nashville. He goes back and forth. It's like, well, he brings something different, but understanding that level of musicality, how to utilize that becomes another form of instrumentation as a producer, as a writer, is really diving deep into, well, what can we do? Because it's going to make you think differently about what a production is, right? You're not going to just be like, let's put a fucking synth on this. It's like, well, actually with this melody, right? And then that goes into another whole topic that I was talking to Tyler about, and I don't,
by the way, shout out
at dinner.
to Tyler and having a #1. Congratulations.
Dude, debut at #1. Fuck. I'm just so proud of that, dude.
He's also beating me in chess right now, so I'm
nice.
like, I have mixed feelings about him. No, he's killing it, man. That song is so good.
You know, happy to be a part of it in some way with the Atmos spatial audio mix. You know, Mike Miller and I got to be attached to that in some degree. It's a very confusing feeling for me. It's just like, you know, debut at #1. Yay, I did the Atmos mix. It's like, I want to be stoked about the fact that happened. But like, unless I did both the stereo and Atmos, it doesn't quite feel like that's, you know, that's also my #1 debut. It feels a little bit weird. And for mixers, like I kind of want to keep this more about Nashville and songwriting.
Let's go talk about Nashville and songwriting.
But I also
shout out Tyler.
No, I know, but I'm also kind of in that headspace right now about like the confusion. So like as mixers are reading this and as watching this, and there's something going on right now that I don't understand, and a lot of mixers don't understand like what that actually means. And there will be 2 mixers or 4 mixers, depending on the co-mix, on songs that are there, and it's very hard to feel like. Anyway, that's another topic. But yeah, so I don't know where that song was written. That could have been written in Nashville. You know, like they worked in Nashville on some things. Yeah. They worked in Malibu. They worked in London. Like that, who knows what vibe, what inspiration comes from being in a place where you have access to musicians at a different level. I'm thinking about harmonic content of like how you write a melody over an existing track that has melody already in it, right? So if you program a track and you have a melody, like the best example for me in this is Stay. Like the melody for Stay that Leroy sings over his verse and the chorus part. Is the Charlie Puth keyboard part. So like, did that happen at simultaneously? I doubt that. I think the piano, from what I've heard,
he played the keyboard part, and then Leroy quickly started singing to it.
Yes. So that melody would not have been written have that harmonic addition been in there. Very, very. I mean, obviously, you can't say it would never. There's no 100% accuracy.
That was the genesis of it. Yeah.
But when you think about the Beach Boys or Michael Jackson writing over, or Elton John, another, you know, and Stevie Wonder, these like the people that voice their melodies. I'm making fingers as a piano, but I'm doing it low, so no one can see.
I know what you meant.
They work on their melody based on the chords that are being played, and they change the chords to see how the melody interacts. That's not something, it's not possible to do that over a track. It's just not the same thing, naturally speaking, as a songwriter. So in Nashville, with musicians in the room that are playing guitar or piano or Rhodes or some keyed instrument while writing a melody, you're definitely going to get different instinctual changes and pitch differences that you wouldn't get having harmonic content that is linear and theoretically can't be changed on the fly. So I'm assuming that Nashville has more of that just based on the fact that there are instruments being played in the room while this is happening.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. There's no Patreon. We don't read ads. We don't have sponsors. We're just trying to build a knowledge base. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks so much.